Welcome to the Diary of an Apprentice podcast. It's a brand new year, brand new episode and a brand new fantastic guest. So today we're welcoming Annalise McAleer.
Hiya.
Annalise is a digital marketing apprentice at Plimsoll Publishing. Been with us for quite a while now.
Yeah, a bit too long.
Don't say that. But how are you, Annalise?
Not too bad. How are you, Megan?
I'm good. You happy to be here?
Yes, I'm excited to see how today goes.
Brilliant. Well, like we said, it's a new year. Any New Year's resolutions that you want to share with us today?
I'm looking forward to losing a little bit of weight. I feel like everyone's still getting out of COVID and the pandemic and getting fit and getting nice food into me. So that's what I'm going to be doing.
I mean, I feel like that's pretty standard for everyone, isn't it? January is
of course.
The gym, and then that lasts for about 2 weeks for me, and then we're back to normal. But have you got any personal goals for 2023?
I really want to get more social, spending more time with friends now I've got my own place. I want to bring people around, cook dinners, do stuff like that. Yeah. Sounds a bit boring.
Sounds good. Well, I could do with being a bit more social, so I'll add that to my New Year's resolutions then. But although it is a new year, it's 2023, today I guess we're kind of going back a couple of years for you to talk about when you first started your apprenticeship and that whole application journey. Mm-hmm. It's that time of the year. People are looking for new opportunities and new challenges. So I think your journey's been a good one. So some advice for anyone who's currently going through what you went through a couple of years ago will be brilliant.
So applying was a little bit complicated, and I originally started with applying to uni and going down the usual route I think everyone really goes down, and I had an unconditional go to university for economics and finance, and I was in the clear. I was like, this is cool, really easy, I'm sorted, got my accommodation done and everything. I was just sat back through summer. And then COVID hit, and it kind of scared me a little bit. And I didn't really know what to do. And with things changing and lockdowns and people getting stuck at university, I was like, oh no, is this really the right thing? Is this the right thing for me if I want to get trapped at university? Especially if it was 2 hours away from home.
Yeah.
So I started applying for apprenticeships, all different types, to be honest. Degree apprenticeships, I had level 3s and level 4s, even some level 2s, from supply chains to general business, accountancy ones. And then my friend knew I was applying for apprenticeships, and she literally just Googled apprenticeships, Stockton-on-Tees, obviously where I'm based, and it ended up coming up first with Plimsoll, and she was like, oh, this would be a really good fit for you. And so she sent me the link, so I read through it, and it was economics, business, digital marketing, and I was like, ooh, this is kind of cool. This is different. It's not just regular marketing, which is all pink and pretty. Yeah. And I was like, you know what? Yeah, let's just take a shot, because why not? Yeah. And I applied on the whim because I'd been doing economics at sixth form, and I'd done prior a little bit of social media experience for school. So I was like, yeah, let's do it. And I applied and ended up with Plimsoll.
Oh, no, well, you've gone quite far at Plimsoll, so it was definitely a good thing.
Yeah, I feel like these things are just meant to happen, and everything just fell into place with Plimsoll.
Well, you said there that you was set on going to university, you were in that direction, and really far into that process, I guess. What was it then that once you decided that it wasn't for you anymore, you didn't like the thought of it, what was it about an apprenticeship over just, I guess, a standard job that what sparked your interest in an apprenticeship?
I remember speaking to Ben and going through the whole process of what the apprenticeship would be, and understanding the different things I'd learn in the courses and the modules, and going, yeah, this is cool, and principles of offline and online marketing, understanding that, and Google Analytics, and a little bit of coding for websites. I was like, oh, this is cool, and kind of piecing all of those things together, where I know that if I had tried to get a basic standard social media job that was really entry level, I knew that I wouldn't get those extra chunks of experience, whereas, don't get me wrong, I'd be able to learn on the job, but I wouldn't have the learning to coincide with that. And I feel like you need both sometimes, and especially when you're trying to get into a career and push yourself there, when you're not going down the typical degree route. I feel like it's really essential to have that to kind of bolster you, I suppose. So it was a big plus for me that I could do that, and also the way it worked and how it wasn't just, oh, it's a day at college, it's a day here and there, because that's what some of my friends did, and I was like, don't really like that. To have week blocks where I could consistently learn a solid piece of knowledge to then take back to Plimsoll was just the best way for me to learn.
Yeah, that block delivery. A lot of people enjoy that. You mentioned there that you had a conversation with Ben, and Ben's one of our recruitment consultants downstairs who obviously help and support people through the application journey. How was it having that one person who you could go to for advice throughout every stage of the process?
It was weirdly so nice. I've never had that before, especially applying through different apprenticeships and things. Never had a person who was my first port of call for anything, and he was really, really helpful, helped me with my CV, because I basically came in with a really plain CV that I'd hand out as a waitress when I was 16. It was really simple. There was no really interest or anything with it. If I was an employer, I'd been no. So he helped me improve my CV and added a mini cover letter to it, so I could really push myself out to Plimsoll and highlight my best points were, and just being able to have him back and forth with me to improve. And if I had any questions, it was just a quick email or a phone call to get a hold of him, kind of just reassuring me and make sure everything was going fine.
Oh no, brilliant. What were then, I guess, we're talking about new year, and it's very cliche, isn't it? But it is, people do look for new challenges in the new year. So what were some of them CV tips and best practices that he shared with you that could be quite useful for someone who's in that current stage?
So the main thing for me was obviously that mini cover letter, and that mini cover letter was essentially a chunky paragraph towards the bottom of my CV, which was all about my core skills that would be essential and really beneficial to the job I was applying for, and kind of highlighting that out. So when it came to the employer reading it, instead of having to go through it all and try and put the pieces together on why it'd be good for it, it was there in front of them and saves them that time. Then they go, oh yes, straight away, put them in the yes pile kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that was the key thing. He helped me reorder my academics and stuff, and because my A-level results were still expected when I applied, so I didn't have them in hand, he helped me put them down and things, and put them down knowing that I wasn't yet to get them and that the employer would be aware of that.
Yeah.
So he's really helpful in that case. But yeah, the way he turned around my CV was amazing.
Yeah. It's always a tricky one, isn't it? Everyone hates writing about themselves, so having that support there, it's really beneficial. But I know you mentioned you wasn't particularly looking for a standard digital marketing apprenticeship, and I think that's really important to talk about, because everyone has this idea of what digital marketing is, and you see the TikToks of a day in the life of a marketing executive in New York, and the shows like Emily in Paris really paint a picture of this glamorous job of what a digital marketing assistant is. And I think a lot of people, when they think of a digital marketing apprenticeship, they think of working in an agency where it's just a marketing team. And you said, you are working digital marketing for Plimsoll, who, correct me if I'm wrong, but financial analysis?
Basically, yeah.
So a finance company. How is that? How is it working in marketing for that kind of business?
Complicated, because no one understands. We sell such an awkward product of business analysis and financial analysis to companies directly, so we're B2B. And then that also scares people because we're B2B and we're not B2C. We're not ASOS, or we're not big companies selling clothes and jewellery and this and that. It's, we're going out to the top of businesses and trying to sell a product that's a little bit more expensive than your normal product. And it's also a subscription basis, so you have to really react on that as well and being able to sell that. It's weird in the fact that I kind of didn't understand originally that smaller businesses or small and medium-sized businesses did have internal marketing teams. I didn't really realise that was a thing. When I did it for the school back when I was a teenager, it was like a Saturday job kind of, but I did it in school, and I knew that I was going to be leaving that job because they'd get someone to do it full time, and that was where I kind of realised that it's all a bit more external.
Yeah.
So realising Plimsoll had it all in-house was a little bit odd, but I think because of the style of the product and the way that Plimsoll worked, I think it's much better for them to have it internally with the amount of knowledge I need to kind of sell the product and explain it all. Because if I even try and explain it to family members, they don't know.
Yeah.
It's just complicated, but
yeah,
it's one of those.
Well, tell us then, what is the day in the life of a digital marketer at a financial analysis company?
So I'll get in about 8:30, open my emails, boring stuff, grab a coffee, sit down. I normally bring my breakfast in, so it's like one of those little wrapped pan of chocolate. Bring one of them in, start loading up, and then I literally have all my tabs in order in my bookmarks. So I literally just click through them all to make sure they're all open, check nothing's gone haywire overnight. Make sure all social media is ready to go, and then I start cracking on with the bigger things like campaigns, email marketing and automation, handling, and normally fixing HubSpot. A few meetings usually discussing the larger things of the business and trying to figure out long-term plans for marketing, because we're not really that deep into marketing with the business. It kind of really only set off a year before I got there. So we're still kind of getting there with things. But yeah, talking about the wide things, especially now with it being New Year and getting sorted for the year ahead, because we want to get this first quarter down. Yeah. That's essentially it. And then I'll drive home at 5 and cook tea.
Well, I think that's quite an important point, isn't it? That I think a lot of people have an idea about what an apprenticeship is, and like years ago it was that you made the tea and coffee, but you've come in to a business that was quite early on in the marketing journey and made a real impact, and I guess kind of helped shape what that marketing plan is.
Completely. Big achievement for me is I took the business from 500 followers to now 5,000 we're at in the space of just over 2 years.
Yeah.
So a nice big jump. We've now got 8 channels instead of the usual 3. We're implementing some new, as I'm going to say, new styles of marketing, the viral styles maybe. But
reactive content creation is kind of where it's going.
We're coming on leaps and bounds, and we've really changed from where we started. Especially when I started, it was all sending out lead generation and just getting people into the building. Now it's really engaging with people on a one-on-one basis and building relationships with people instead of just throwing content out there and hoping that someone catches onto it.
Yeah. So in the kind of where Plimsoll was at when you joined, as you said, the marketing team was quite new. If we go back to when you first joined, like how was that interview process? So if them, how was that whole experience? What were the kind of stuff that they kind of wanted to know from you?
I remember my interview, it was obviously held at home over COVID, and I was sat on my bed, on the edge of my bed, with my laptop on my chest drawers, trying to look really smart in a nice business outfit. And I remember it being Chris and Mara, who were my manager and then his manager at that time. And it was quite an informal interview, to be honest. I think it's because we were all so comfortable with each other. It just flowed really well and felt informal. But they asked me about my studies in economics. They asked me about my prior little bit of mini marketing, I suppose. Asked me what I'd done there so they could kind of understand what I'd done so far, which wasn't a lot.
Yeah.
And then the main thing they wanted was to kind of understand how much I knew about Plimsoll.
Yeah.
With Plimsoll being so complicated, they wanted to know how much I understood, to kind of understand how much I cared about them.
Yeah.
Because I think even if you try and research a company before an interview, you'll tell yourself how much you care by how much you look at them.
Yeah.
If you really can't be bothered to look at them prior to an interview, then that kind of tells you where you're at with them.
Yeah.
So I did quite a bit of digging, and we had a natter about who they are, what they did, where they come from, kind of thing, what the product is and how they sell it and how their website works. And it wasn't a long interview, around half an hour. And then, 48 hours later, I had an offer in hand from Ben.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant. I think that's important though, isn't it? Like, you're not expected to go in there with a full portfolio. Like, these are all the campaigns that I've executed if we're talking about digital marketing. But what they are looking for is a genuine passion and interest. And I think doing some research about the company can really help you stand out and show your enthusiasm, I guess.
Oh, yeah. I think it completely sways an interview, to be honest. You could have 10 campaigns all laid out in PDF form and hand them to them. But if you know nothing about the business or who they are and what they do, they'll just shut the door on you.
Yeah. You may have already answered this through that question, but if I was to say to you, if someone's in your shoes where you was a couple of years ago, what would be that like one piece of interview advice that you'd give someone?
Definitely research. Researching the business and understanding who they are was clearly like my big thing. And that's really important, but also just stay relaxed. Don't expect to give them the world in that interview, because they're not going to get the world out of it. You need to be realistic and trust yourself in the interview and trust them And you'll be able to get that, it sounds daft, a spark in that interview and be able to get on with them. If you get on with them nice and quickly and there's no awkwardness and it stops to feel like an interview, then you've kind of got that.
Yeah.
If you're still struggling or you're struggling to make headways with them and it's just getting awkward or you're having a very little bounce back, then you know there's an issue, I suppose.
Yeah, definitely. And I think like starting a new job, no matter how far into your career you are, whether you've got 20 years experience or 2 hours, it's daunting. It's daunting for anyone.
Completely.
How was it like knowing that you didn't have a lot of experience? Did you feel a level of pressure, or was that kind of set out that they didn't expect that from you?
A bit of both. I think they knew that I was kind of walking in a little bit blind, not knowing too much, but knowing that I was just ready to do anything. They knew that I was knowledgeable enough of the product and kind of economics so that I could really get a grip of things, which I think then helped me to bring in my marketing, which was good. But yeah, I did go in a little bit blind, but it was nice to kind of know that I could go in blind to pick up everything, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And my manager had a clean slate to work with me, to work on the things that I needed to work on and what he wanted me to work on. So we could kind of find that good ground so I could then build a good marketing skill set. Yeah,
definitely. How was the onboarding process then? So like your first couple of weeks, what was you kind of doing in them couple of weeks?
Yeah, with COVID, it was a little difficult. So I remember on August 3rd, I walked into the office and Chris just appeared and it was empty. There was no one in there because it was COVID and he had to stand far away from me and he was like, here's your laptop, and pushed it towards me. And he's like, this is where, and basically pointed to where everyone would sit and tell me who they were and what they did. And this is like, oh, you'll sit here near like Sam and stuff. And being able to understand that when things do go back to normal, this is how it'd work.
Yeah.
And he explained to me how we'd kind of do like a mini onboarding process through Teams and speak to everyone on an individual level to understand what they did, because we're really quite departmental with our business, from sales to marketing to like editing and IT. So getting a breakdown of what everyone did. So yeah, I essentially spent about 3 weeks over Teams, one-to-one with people, seeing customer demonstrations, speaking to the odd customer, kind of getting an overall understanding of it all, which would help me then obviously to apply the more nitty-gritty stuff further down the line. But yeah, it was a 3 weeks full of Teams meetings and just being sat there and nodding and taking notes.
Yeah, sounds pretty similar to a lot of onboarding processes. It's kind of a lot to get your head around, I guess.
Completely.
In them first couple of weeks. But remind me, Annalise, when was it exactly when you joined Plimsoll?
So yeah, I joined August 3rd, 2020.
Oh, you know the exact date. That is impressive. So if we think back to August 3rd, 2020 to now, January 2023, how have your responsibilities changed over that period of time?
Immensely. I remember just starting to struggle doing LinkedIn campaigns and asking Chris what does what and trying to put audiences together. And now I'm fully running campaigns. I'm kind of like our HubSpot engineer and building workflows and fixing the back ends. And I'm a complete handler of our webinars and all the emails and all the contacts and all the content. I post all of social media, make about all of it except for our blogs. I've completely taken nearly all of it on with just oversight from Chris, which is amazing, so he can do the bigger things. While he still handles some international bits and pieces. But yeah, it's crazy to think that I nearly run the job, I suppose, instead of trying to do the job, I suppose. Yeah, it's crazy. And it's weird to think that in just over 2 years, that's all happened.
Well, I think it's just like the topic of progression. It is massive. To know that you can go from hardly having some experience doing a Saturday social media job to now taking all that on in a company that operates on an international scale. It's incredible. And if you kind of look back to 2020, did you ever think that would be possible in 2 years?
Oh, no, not at all. I was kind of shocked. I remember taking on my first webinar. After I joined, I was like, oh, right, okay, this is happening. And it was quite daunting for me having to take it all on and deal with it all. But now kind of looking that I run all of the webinars since I've started, all of social media, manage it all the calendars. It's just kind of really instates everything that's happened.
Yeah. Brilliant. And you're now on your second apprenticeship with Baltic.
Yeah.
How has it been taking the step up?
It's been nice. It's been nice to continue it, of course. I would never say no to you guys. But it's been nice to kind of progress on things. I didn't really want to lose out on any education, I suppose, when I had the opportunity to take it.
Yeah. Well, like now that you're coming to kind of the end of that journey, do you think there's any next steps in terms of further qualifications or?
Such a complicated question that my manager keeps asking me. And hopefully going to take some further steps, maybe become chartered, take that big step.
That is a big step.
Some smaller courses and stuff, really build up on my Adobe and take the gaps in my SEO and my UI and my UX, where I'm kind of missing it, where I've done all the events and the social media and the usual campaigns and social media management.
Yeah.
But where I'm like missing the kind of techier side of things. So I can really kind of cover a broad base. So when I do want to decide what I'll go into, I've then got the option to.
Yeah. I mean, it never ends, does it?
Oh.
Especially in this industry, like things change all the time. The way Google operates changes massively. A lot. So like everyone is that upskilling and professional development, I think is a constant. Yeah. But it's not just your professional life that's kind of progressed massively over the last couple of years. I know that you've achieved some really big personal goals. So like what's new in the world of Annalise?
Well, since I started my first apprenticeship, I've passed my driving test, which was finally a godsend. Took a while. And I'm now a homeowner, and I've just 2 weeks in moved into a house. And it's crazy to think that I'm now a homeowner. If I'd have told myself when I first started my apprenticeship, in this period, you'll pass your driving test, you'll find a home and you'll settle down with someone, I would have been like, what? No way. It's kind of a shock to the system, but I feel like it kind of all comes together nicely and life just falls into place when good things are happening.
Yeah.
So to know that things are going smoothly is really nice, and it's being an adult now.
Yeah, adult life. Yeah. But moving home is a massive process for anyone. How's that been?
Stressful. Who knew carpets would be so difficult?
Yeah, and expensive.
Yeah. So yeah, things like that were a big step. Luckily, moving wasn't too bad because I didn't have too much moving out of my family home. But it's nice to start, and even just buying the daft stuff like plates and pans, and getting a vacuum sorted. But it's nice to finally see it as a home and be able to walk in after a day of work and just be able to sit on like my sofa, watch my telly, and be able to go upstairs, and that's like our house. It's just rewarding.
The reason I bring that up is it's quite sad, I guess, but there'll be people out there or people even listening now who don't think that being able to purchase a home from an apprenticeship, like being on an apprenticeship, is possible, because there is that narrative that, you know, they're low paid and stuff like that. But I guess what would your like piece of advice be to someone who thinks that an apprenticeship is out of reach because of that reason?
I don't underestimate things, honestly. Take that from me. This house and what happened came out of nowhere, and I think I'm really lucky for that. Take advantage of all government schemes and keep an eye on things and try and learn about your mortgages and your finances and all the tricky things behind house ownership, because no one teaches you that. Yeah. And that's something you've kind of got to pick up yourself. But putting money aside so you can buy your new furniture and whatnot and get the house. But we worked with a government association to get the house, and we were lucky to be the last ones after someone else fell through. And we're lucky that things have been really heavily discounted for us because of it being government associated. But things like the Help to Buy and the Rent to Buy and the shared ownership are really helpful on getting on there. Just because you don't make masses of money doesn't mean you can't own a home or own property, I suppose. I think it's kind of underestimated how much an apprentice can do and can potentially earn after their apprenticeship. Yeah.
And it's a topic that everyone hates to talk about. No one likes talking about salary. And I'm not asking you to disclose anything that you're earning. I'm definitely not. But has your salary changed as you've progressed throughout the apprenticeship?
It has. I started on a set wage, and that increased twice in my first apprenticeship, and now I'm on a pay development plan which will set me through till all the way through the end of this year, which is really nice. Incredible. And I think employers who care about things like that and do stuff like that to set plans in place for you and set it in writing so you know what you're due, and as long as you hit your targets and do a good job, you're all in the clear. Show that they want to keep you, shows that they care about you, and they're actually bothered. If they're just going,
Yeah.
We'll look at it. We'll look at your pay at a later date. Then it's a bit like,
Yeah.
So it's nice to have that support from Plimsoll.
Definitely. And has there been any like promotions over the course of the last 2 years?
Not really. There's no name changes as such. There's no real like direction in what my name is. I just get to choose what my title is. I could be Queen of Marketing if I wanted to be at Plimsoll.
That's a pretty good one.
And I don't think they'd notice. But we're hoping to expand the marketing team, which would help me to move up, I suppose, and help to mentor someone in the future, which would be kind of an internal promotion, not an official one. So that'd be nice.
I mean, it's not always about the job title, is it?
No,
You've talked
not
about
at
your
all.
responsibilities and that pay increase. And I think that pretty much speaks for itself. So that could be exciting if you're expanding the marketing team. What's kind of the plan for that?
It'd be nice. So hopefully we're going to bring someone on in the future. It's been pushed back a little bit. And I can't say too much because it's all under wraps. But yeah, hoping to bring someone on to kind of sit under me and to go through what I've gone through and not take all of what I'm doing away from me, but take some of it away from me so I can go into more of a strategic level under Chris and kind of take away some of his parts and handle more of the bigger things in marketing, which are kind of forgotten instead of the actual creation of such.
Yeah, well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because that's what you said earlier, is that that's what you were back then.
Yeah,
you kind of freed up Chris's time, and I guess it's the same process.
Yeah, I was just a little maker essentially. Now we've got to the point where I'm now too busy to get on with everything I need to do. So now we need another me. Yeah, I hate to call it that, but that's what we call it. That to kind of come in and learn the ropes, just like I did, and knowing that they can come in with an open mind and little knowledge and still do well is nice.
Yeah, how's it been like? I guess your apprenticeship, you've mentioned you've learned quite a lot through the 2 programs that you've been through. But it's not just all about hard digital marketing skills. You've been you've been involved in a lot of campaigns that we've done as a Baltic Champion. How's that kind of been?
Unexpected, to say the least. If you look back to when I was in like sixth form of college, I was not one person. Come and do stuff like this, or even do a meeting on Teams, or speak to people out in public and be much more confident with myself. That wasn't me. And now I'm sat here, I've been a Baltic Champion, I've ran a Q&A with you guys, and I've gone back to my sixth form and did a talk about apprenticeships, and it's nice to kind of see that personal development there and know that I can advocate for things I've done and talk about things I actually care about. Yeah. I'm not closed off anymore, which is nice, and I think that's just personal growth.
Yeah. Well, I think that speaks for itself, and it speaks volumes. You're a Baltic Champion because you're an incredible role model to anyone who's going through this journey, and that's why we want you as a mentor for apprentices who are coming on programme with us. So we'll just thank you for everything that you've done for us, because you've been brilliant, and we're so lucky to have you.
Thank you.
But yeah, I guess that pretty much brings us to the end of the episode. What's next for Annalise?
God knows. I think 2023 is going to be a really unexpected year. We could have someone new come in, and this could be next week, it could be next month, or they may come in later in the year, and I'm completely open to completing loads of courses and taking myself further once I finish with you guys. But yeah, world's my oyster, I suppose, but I'm still continuing with marketing. Yeah. I'm not leaving.
That's brilliant to hear. And I guess to kind of wrap up the episode, as I say, the purpose of getting you on here today was to talk about the initial stages of the application process, but to also share the journey of where you can go once you join up. So what would be the one piece of, if you could only tell someone one piece of advice for someone who's considering an apprenticeship, what would that be?
Just do it. I'm not a Nike advocate, don't worry. But take that risk, take that shot, take the odd chance that you might get through to the interview stage, or that job sounds like you and you should apply just on a whim, even if you don't think you're up to scratch or you're up to standard, because things fall into place and life works in weird ways. And I think that's what happened with me. And I don't think I'd be where I was if I didn't take that chance, or if my friend didn't message me and go, oh, this is for you. If things work weirdly, and I always say take a chance. If you've got a chance to do something and you're and ahhing over it, but if you think you're going to regret it in the future, then you've got to do it. even if it's going to be a pain to do it or difficult to go through, or it's going to be long and you're not going to enjoy all of it, do it because you'll be happy in the future and it'll be worth your while. Because don't get me wrong, sometimes I don't want to do all of my essays, but when I look back and see how much I've done with Baltic, it's made me realise how it was all worthwhile to sit there and type up my campaigns and stuff with you guys. So yeah, just take the shot.
Just do it. Just do it. That is where we're going to end today's episode. Annalise, as always, you've been incredible. Thank you for coming. How's it been?
Crazy. I did not expect to be here or do this with you, so yeah.
But no, you've been absolutely brilliant, and please, I hope you come back in the future.
Hopefully.
Thanks for listening to the Diary of an Apprentice podcast. Find this and future episodes on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or check out our full videos on YouTube and Vimeo.